A very good evening, and my apologies, I'm running a little late today. How are you guys doing? It's so nice to meet all of you. I feel like it's been a few days, but it's only been a day. So I really look forward to interacting with my guests, and I really look forward to interacting with my audience. So hello everyone again, and welcome back to Coffee and Chaos, episode number 15. So today's episode is super special for me. I am curious, excited, inquisitive to know so much more from our guest today. My guest today is Radhika Chopra. She is a blueprint numerologist, a spiritual coach. She's an author of this amazing book. I don't know if you can read it, but it says Touched by Life with and it is something which will just blow your mind away. It is written by her on a very, very close and a near to death experience, and this will open a lot of perspectives for you. So maybe try and get your hands on this book as and when you can. Of course, she's written it long ago and I've read it almost twice now. But yes, I'm looking forward to chatting with my guest Radhika Chopra today, and I will bring her on as soon as she joins us. Until then, let's have a quick chat with everyone else, and just give me a second. So Radhika is still trying to find my live, so I will be waiting for her. And just a quick hello to everybody who's already joined. Hi Sanjay, how are you? Good to see you here. Hi Rajiv, hi Monu, hello everyone. Hi Farzad. And there my guest has arrived. So I'm looking forward to chatting with Radhika, and as soon as she is with us, she will also in her own way. So hang in there guys, just give me a minute please. Hi Gayatri. And there you are. Hi
Hi,
Radhika.
how are you?
I
I
am
couldn't
good.
see your
How are
live.
you?
I had a bit of a struggle finding you on Instagram and sending you the request, so sorry to have delayed.
No worries, no worries. I managed to introduce you in the meanwhile. And welcome to
Okay.
Coffee and Chaos. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much.
And absolute pleasure to have you. And I'm looking forward to our chat today. But before I go on with the zillion questions that I have listed with me today, if you could tell our viewers a little bit about you personally and professionally.
Okay. So keeping it really short, very quick introduction. Those who have seen my website and all, I call myself a transformation coach. But transformation coach is about what is it that I practice. Can you hear me, Karishma?
Radhika,
Could you hear me or?
Radhika, your network just went off in between. So if you could rephrase yourself.
Oh, okay. I'm going to repeat that again. So I call myself a transformation coach, but what I practice within that is blueprint numerology and astrology, movement feedback, as well as something called quantum synergy. So it's a toolbox of all these things. I've had great mentors who've taught me breath work, and it's basically this whole toolbox that helps me to work with myself and people around me and my clients. Yeah, so that's
Wow, so
about me.
you are going to have to explain the toolbox to me, because it's just so
It's a
fascinating.
lot.
And you know,
Yeah,
as a layman or a laywoman, whatever it is, we kind of only can guess what it is about. People know astrology कि चलो
yeah,
हाथ दिखा दिया, palmistry हो गई, astrology दिखा दिया, horoscope हो गया, but there is so much more to all these sciences. So if you could
of
throw a little
course.
bit light on what is quantum synergy and what is blueprint
Okay.
numerology.
Yeah. So the blueprint numerology is a little unique system of numerology. It's this is esoteric and exoteric. So when people go to a numerologist, they tend to understand numerology from a predictive perspective, but this is not just about prediction. This is about understanding your life, your entire journey, and your potential, your pitfalls, so you can actually live your life in the best possible way. So the blueprint numerology is a very deep science. It's a very extensive numerology. So I practice that. It's been over a decade. I have also been conducting workshops and teaching that subject as well. So that's numerology. The astrology part, actually, I'm a student of forever student of astrology, Vedic astrology. It's a very vast, deep, Science, again, misunderstood as only predictive, but it's about understanding our relationship to life itself and our entire journey. As far as quantum synergy is concerned, it's about bringing things together. So everything is so complicated, whether it is emotionally or mentally or even physically with us. And we get overwhelmed with what we are dealing with. So here are processes, or the mentoring is around bringing things together to simplify it. I'm a believer that nobody can give you the answers. What is given to you can be taken away or can be lost, but what is invoked in you is yours forever. So I feel you can walk with people and you can help people walk their path so that their potential is revealed to themselves. So it's based on that.
Wow. And I guess you also written a book which says,
Yes.
this one, Touch My
Yes.
Life,
Yeah.
right? One of your
Yeah.
books which is written on your pure personal experience. Could you tell our
Yeah.
viewers a little bit about this as well?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said, could you tell our viewers a little bit about the book as well?
Okay. Yeah, so the book was written a few years ago, as you know, Karishma, and so the book came out of a personal journey I had, and actually an incident. I had a near-death experience way back in year 2002, and then I know there are a lot of books written on near-death experiences, and it's not an uncommon thing. People have had and narrated their experience. And I had a very different experience post the near-death experience. So I struggled with a lot of anxiety, and I kind of embarked on the search for what was the meaning. Why did I have this experience? Why did I struggle with things after that, which led me, onto this sort of a journey of self-discovery. So I've shared this with people because I know there are a lot of people who do deal with anxiety, with panic, with depression, or even simply just questions about their existence and as to what is the purpose of their life and why are they here. So I just wanted to share my story. It came out very organically. It was a book that was written very fast. I think I finished it in a month or two. And yeah, so that's what the book is about. I think it's very simply written. I hope you've read it. So
I read it twice. Somehow
okay, great.
subconsciously answer a lot of questions for me. So I ended up reading more than once. It's almost like, the second time you read it, you come across something else which you did not come across in the first book, or something because Allah becomes alive in you or awakened in you. It just happens in the second read. Radhika, I think your Wi-Fi is an issue. It's kind of
I really have no idea why the Wi-Fi. I think I've checked it, but there is a bit of a problem. So I'm so sorry about that. I think we'll
That's
just
fine.
have
You may
to.
want to go on your data. I think that would be smoother.
Oh shit. Okay, wait. But I'm just afraid to get. Let's just go with it because I'm not so tech savvy, and I might just lose this.
Don't worry. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. Okay, so I wanted to ask you what brought you, and what was your calling towards this journey, and I think you answered that in your answer right now when you said you went looking for answers. Before that, you were flying with an airline.
Yeah. Yes.
That was Singapore Airline.
No, I was flying with Cathay Pacific. So
With
I was
Cathay Pacific.
19 when I joined Cathay Pacific. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
from the
So
aviation
I
to
come
the
from a
flying.
background, my father is a pilot with Air India, so I always had this thing about flying. So that's how I went in for, yeah.
Lovely. So from aviation industry to such depthful work, like deep work, all about understanding one's personality, understanding their relationship, what's going on with you. How did you find the movement happen for you?
I think it happened before I joined the airline. It happened when I was a child. I think it was the environment. My grandmother had a great influence in my life. I grew up with her. She was, we used to go for Havan every Sunday. Um, so that was my routine with my grandmother. And I don't know for what reason, I used to sit and ponder. I used to look at the open sky and as to ponder, looking at the sky, what's beyond that, and what's my relationship. There's this whole wide universe out there, so vast, so big, greater than I am. And who am I in this big, grand scheme of things? So that is what my little mind used to think about. Having said that, as I've shared in my book as well, life happened and I was a normal child and everything, just a deep thinker. I explored a lot of things even in my childhood, whatever I could get my hands on, books to read and things like that. But I think the trigger was the near-death experience. Well, actually, no. Even when I got married, I started learning different things. I learned pendulum dowsing, and I learned Reiki and different things. So I think it was a natural, orientation, natural bent of mind to dwell on things like this and question life in this way. Yeah.
So clearly, I think answers happen to those who seek them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Lovely. So that's really good to know, Radhika, that you have managed to come here. And guys, let me tell you, very recently I had my consult with Radhika on numerology is, I think, what we discussed, and a little bit of astrology as well. And she was brilliantly accurate. So if you ever want a reading, she is your woman to go to, and she is absolutely spot on. Will completely surprise you and bowl you over with the kind of things she will tell you. At least that was my experience, Radhika. So I know that whatever you have learned in terms of your sciences, in your knowledge, there is a lot of passion in what you're doing as well. Somehow there is a lot of connection that, even when you're talking about somebody else, there is a good amount of connection that I see you having with your work. And that is so beautiful, so rarely found these days. So Radhika, I have been talking in Coffee and Chaos about the pandemic and about how people are dealing with their chaos and stuff like that. So I wanted to understand from your end now, with people like us, we can only assume what science saying, what's happening in the world, what is the government coming up with. We get stuck in these details that are happening on a daily life. But someone like you who has knowledge and can understand what the planet's positions are trying to say, numerology is trying to say what year we are in, how we are headed, where we were, having this entire drone view, like I say, like a view from the top. How do you associate that with what's going on at the moment? How is that journey? How do you manage the chaos of knowing from the top and still living in between the mundane?
Okay, so you asked me quite a few questions there, and I'm going to try and answer them because one is about the numerology and astrology part of it, and one is how do we deal with all of this. See, I think we all are having a human experience, and a lot of us have the information or sometimes even the whatever it is, different people are in different places. I know I got cut off there. There's buffering happening, but I'm hoping that, yeah. So the thing is that I think we all go through the process. We are living in very stressful environment because it's been a long time. It's not that we just started with the pandemic. It's a once in a lifetime experience. And it's been sustained, it's long. There is a great amount of stress that we all feel. I think it's very human to get pulled into it. I think it's very human to feel the fear, the anxiety, the upset, the hopelessness, the hope, all of these things. These are human emotions. I feel it too. Everybody feels it. So it's not about being above the human emotion. But it's good to remind oneself that once in a way, step back and become the observer of it. And I say, if you cannot remind yourself of that, find people who can remind you of things like that. Because it's very important for us to pull out of the energy. And I don't mean to become indifferent to it, but I mean is that you become the observer. One is that you actually take care of yourself, your own energy, your own auric field. Secondly, you don't become part of the problem, right? So the only thing we can actually manage, the only thing we have any control over is our personal world, our personal energy. We cannot change the world, right? So, so I think it's a combination of all things, and I know there are there is a lot of conversation about how we should feel, that we should feel right, we should always feel upbeat and hopeful. I think there's too much of stress in this world for us to feel right rather than feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think all of us, depending on our psychological makeup, are going to feel or relate to this environment in different ways. And every day is a different day, right? Yeah. So I hope I'm answering your question there about,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, and the other thing about the astrology numerology, so it's I actually started exploring more of astrology, and of course everyone reads this differently, and there's so many astrologers out there who are coming up with their take on it. A lot of people ask them, why did you not know this beforehand? Weren't you
Yeah.
supposed to know this if you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I've understood about it, very few people actually did warn that there's going to be something, not the specifics, but I know that there are people who did warn that there's going to be some disturbance that is going to affect us globally, and it would start in the eclipse of 2019. Okay, and now there's a lot of study about studying the COVID pandemic with the Spanish flu and comparing it, and you will see that in a similar way, right? The second wave is also been the worst in the Spanish flu and
Correct.
all of that. So, so what is it really about? From my understanding of numerology, okay, so my understanding of numerology or astrology is that I think from time to time, human consciousness and the world comes to a point where they have to stop, reflect, and change its course, or they will be given an opportunity to change its course. When you look at life before 2019, and I used to wonder why, what is it that I'm picking up on? We all were so much in the pursuit of worldly things because there's so much of conversation about goal setting and reaching your goals. And there's, that kind, whilst that is important, we were very centered around that. We were very focused on it. And I think there was a pause, and everybody used to think that they're gods, that they can control their life, control the world, right? And you see, you cannot, right? And there is a humanness, there is a human experience, and sometimes being part of the divine plan, being part of the divinity is to endure what is happening. And I think in these last 1.5 years, and probably a few months more down the line, we are going to be learning how to endure the difficulties. And we're going to be learning to deal with our emotions. And I think there is no shame in feeling. I mean, I have had feelings of great anxiety sometimes, right? Or great fear. And those are my right? And those weak moments, you need to reach out to your support and fight through it, go through it. Right? So I hope I've answered that question.
Clearly, there was a transition coming in at some point in time, which I think, like you said, we had to be a part of the divine plan of even enduring. And now if I look from that perspective, of course, everything else becomes a lot more bearable, because that's when you surrender and say, okay, if this is what I'm supposed to go through right now, maybe it's a part of the experiences that I have to take with me. And that's when you stop fighting. Of course, besides which you take care and do your precautions and do the practical bit of it. But it does help you at least mentally calm down. And I have lost Radhika again, guys. Just give me a minute. Radhika, you're back?
I'm so sorry about this, people, but there's really not much I can do. I've been having a problem with this internet.
No worries. So what I was trying to say as a point is that, like you said, that we've been, constantly doing so much around controlling our lives, knowing what's going to happen. The sudden stopover towards the unknown or the uncertainty really did bring about a lot of feelings that we are not used to managing. And that has...
That's actually a fear, isn't it?
Sorry?
Yeah, because we are confronting our deepest fear, that is of the unknown. There's such unknown variables, even down to the virus. You just don't know where it is, right? Yeah. So I think it puts our survival mode into overdrive, and that's why people feel all these things. So yes, what is sown is always reaped. You reap according to what you sow. You do this individually and you do this at a collective level. Since the whole world is going through this, I think we are doing this at a collective consciousness. There is so much of abuse of the freedom and of the resources we had that there comes a time that you need to sort of pay
Pause.
back or endure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even the air is clearer, isn't it? No lesser roads, stuff on the road, and the air is clearer. There are Alps are being seen, the icy tops are being seen, which were not seen in the last so many years. And the last 2 years,
Sure.
Himalaya icy top has been very clearly seen, and it's been recorded. So
Mhm.
maybe the environment or the nature
Yeah.
wanted us to say, now
Nature
you
wanted
guys
us
stay
out of the
home.
view for a while. Yeah.
You guys stay home and let me breathe now. You all have
Yeah.
been breathing for a very long time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So another question to you, Radhika. Now, knowing that you are an expert in all these things, at the moment, yesterday there was a big new moon. Is that's what it's called?
There was a new moon, yes.
There was a new moon, yes.
Eclipse new moon.
And there is an anticipated solar eclipse and there is an anticipated lunar eclipse that's going to happen in the next 15 odd days until the 10th of June is what I read about. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's what I read, that until the 10th of June, there is going to be a good amount of change in the lunar and the solar cycles and the planetary positions, which is also being predicted as a small window to manifest a change, to even where it comes to the leaving of the virus. So, what is your understanding of what is going on with the planet at the moment, astrologically, numerologically, with all your
What
knowledge? How would
I've
you address it?
understood is eclipses are a natural phenomena, an astronomical phenomena that happen every year. But as far as and of course they have an impact. But I think there are many other planetary combinations and things that come into play. Um, so we have a new year chart that is plotted in the month of April for an entire year. So 14th of April to the 14th of April 2022. And of course, there are many planetary movements that happen. So one of the things that happened in February was a very difficult combination, which was two planets of Rahu and Mangal coming together, which creates Angarak Yoga. And of course, every country has their own personal charts depending on when they got their independence. So you have to see the planets in relation to how that country will experience. So you will see that different countries experience that same time period very differently. So I think it's very complex, and there are many combinations that are going to happen. I have Mundane astrology is a very difficult topic, and one of only the most expert people can do mundane astrology. It's very different from individual astrology. But what I hear about it is all of this has been. Did you lose me again?
Yes, I did. And you're back now.
Okay. So one of the thing is that we are going to have. They're saying that the month of May would be the most difficult, it has been difficult. April, May. 21st of February is when the warning came out that there's going to be a change. And sure enough, for example, even in our city, the cases started rising in February. So we actually had the initiation of the second wave in February end. June, July, and then it'll ebb. And again in September to November is when we are expecting the third wave. This is according to astrology. And it is only by next year that March to April that we are looking at some planetary shifts that will start giving us huge relief. So this year was not, I know a lot of people were so excited about 2021 as if
I
COVID will
know.
say, okay, now I'm done. Well, there is hope. Every human being, nothing wrong with that. But this year was slated to be more difficult than 2020. And then, we will probably have some relief only next year. And that too by spring next year. When if you see it in ground reality, I think a lot of people will be vaccinated. Maybe we'll make some, advancement with the medication and things like that. So those things will happen at the ground level. So this is what I've heard. This is what I've followed, and I have seen that this is how it's panning out. So yes, when we have the cases coming down, I think we need to still practice utmost caution, not let our guards down, because yes, there would probably be a third wave. I mean, everybody is saying it, and astrologically, I can say yes, for sure.
It's expected.
Right.
Somewhere around
It's
September to
expected.
November as well.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and what about the whole Saturn in retrograde and the Mercury in retrograde? Is that affecting the planet in any way?
I'm sorry, what was that?
The Saturn in retrograde, the Mercury in retrograde, is that affecting the
So,
planet in any way?
so Saturn going retrograde, it just went retrograde. So the one of the theories is the Saturn and Jupiter conjunction, because Jupiter is what signifies, the bounties of life. It is what they call in the Jeev Karaka. So it is what rules all creatures or the life of creatures. So Saturn and Jupiter coming together. So one of my teachers mentioned something, and this is from Rishi Prashara's rule, which says when Jupiter as a planet is in Atichara, Atichara means movement, fast movement, the world cries. This is written by Rishi Prashar. And so Jupiter started going the whole of 2020, 2021, Jupiter is in Atichara. So, this is the abnormal motion. So we can say that there will be some anomaly, abnormal motion related to life on the planet. And Saturn, well, the difference between Saturn and Jupiter is a lot now. That's why you're seeing the respite in the cases. When they come back in more closer in conjunction, which will be in September, you'll see again a rise of cases. I think we will see when Jupiter moves into Pisces, which is next year, is when we will see more of a respite.
So that is what the planets are saying, that we still have to keep our guards and we still have to not get excited over cases dropping.
Yes.
Again, going back to the party mode.
Well, I really think that's one of the things we have to learn, and we have learned, hopefully, is that it's not about me, it's about all of us. What I do, the choices I make, is going to affect a lot of people. And I think this time has taught us to be more selfless and more inclusive and more considerate of people. And I think we should bring that in, and we should walk that path, because that's what the time is asking us to do.
Great, and I think just maybe sometimes even knowing this can bring in a lot of depth, it can bring in a lot of stability in one's mind. So I've been talking to doctors, and when the doctors come in and say that this is what is going to expect, this is what is expected, I feel, I remember Dr. Soni, when she came in, she said that when people at home say that I'm bored, I sometimes feel telling them, I wish I had a day where I could say I'm bored at home. But they're out there fighting for us. And then you come in and say that this is what the planets are expecting us to do, and there's this whole period of endurance. So this whole perceptions that are coming in from different backgrounds, different experts, is going to be really helpful for people who hear them. And I know you're also a spiritual or a transformational coach. And like I said, I've been addressing a lot of emotional and mental health that people are going through as a difference at the moment. As a spiritual expert, if I have to tell you a few tips, if I have to ask you for a few tips for everybody which can help us accept the moment, also continue to be careful, and at the same time, how do we really take care of ourselves? What would it be like?
So one of the basic fundamental things is allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling without any regret or shame, or and allow that to happen, because be allowing a feeling to surface, to feel something completely, is very different from dwelling in it. So I'm not saying dwell in it, but if you're feeling something, allow yourself to feel it, because only then will it pass through you. So that's the basic one thing, because I know in this 1.5 years, I've had moments of great anxiety as well, personally. And I think there is no shame in it, right? So you allow yourself, you do whatever you need to do. I have great support system, which help me through it. It could be a friend who makes you laugh. It could be a friend who just simply hears you out without telling you what you should be feeling and what you should be doing, right? One is to have that support system. Secondly I think this is a great opportunity to, the way I see it, to utilize this time in self-development. Now, that self-development need not be a curriculum or some feat that you want to do. It could be or it need not be. I think it's very good time to make life a meditative process, that if you're cooking, allow that to be a completely, you're not rushing through life. Now you have all the time in the world, right? So I think that is something that's really helpful. Personally, I've embarked on a 3-year course in Ayurveda, so that's how I'm using my time, and as well as my Jyotish studies. That's so I'm using this time for that. But it needn't be. I mean, it could be anything for anyone. One of the things I find very helpful is if you have a routine or a system in place. For example, I have one. I get up at 5:30, quarter to 6 every morning before the world wakes up. And I do certain breath work that I do every day, which takes me about 45 minutes. So I'm doing pranayam, which is an exercise, is something that's recommended. It has physical as well as spiritual or psychological benefits. So I think it's a good time to pick up a practice which is healthy, which is sustainable. Start off early, have a system in place, have a routine, and you'll be able to see that you'll be manage yourself and your whole day much better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think these are simple things that one can do.
So any guided meditations that can work for people who don't know breath work or who don't understand pranayam or basic asanas, something that can help someone who's an absolute novice in anything that
So I think
grounds.
pranayama is very easy and very easily available and understood by most people, at least in our country. We are very well versed with it.
You're back. Are you back?
Again? Okay, yeah. Yes. So
Yes.
I think simple pranayam like a anulom vilom or whatever, we all have been introduced even in a yoga class to the basic pranayams.
Yeah.
One can start with that. Meditation, if you want to, meditate on music, or you want to just pay attention to your breath and watch your breath and meditate, you can do that. So I think there's so many ways that one can do silent meditation. A lot of people have a problem with meditation. They think I cannot meditate because I cannot not think. Meditation is not about not thinking. It's about sitting still and allowing even a billion thoughts to appear, and watching those billion thoughts as they appear. Because if we can watch our thoughts without participating, we can go through life as witnesses,
Yeah.
right? So whatever is arising in your emotional, mental space, you can watch it better if you have a practice of meditation. You become a witness to it. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm
So
a big advocate for.
uh, I tried something yesterday, so I'll tell you a personal experience. So I'm somebody who's extremely active in the mind and the body, very, very restless. So when I'm running around, even when there's nothing to
Right.
rush about, I'm rushing somewhere. So there's constant
Yeah.
rush in my life. So I kind of was feeling a little overwhelmed last night, and I was like, in spite of being at home, in spite of the lockdown, I've still managed to create so many activities for myself that I'm still rushing. So last night, I think my son and me, we were sitting and I told him, Chal, we'll meditate, we'll try. So meditation is not something that occurs to me, which means sitting still. Sitting still also doesn't happen for me. But I have kind of begun to realize in the last few days that I need it. And I literally feel like my soul, my body, my mind is asking for it. And just last night, I think I put up one guided meditation video, which was more about relaxation. And those 10 minutes, I think I was lying down, I wasn't even sitting. And I was just listening to
Yeah.
that video, and that was so therapeutic. It was
Yes.
so therapeutic. Like it calmed down every nerve in my body, literally. So, I would
Yes.
really, I completely resonate when you say that some people don't think I mean, I don't have a problem with my thoughts being not still. My problem is my body being still. So even to
Yes.
be located in one place for 10 minutes without doing anything is difficult for someone like me. So yes,
Right.
I think
So the movement
that is
can
something
happen
that
in the
I'm going
thought,
to
or it can
incorporate.
happen in the body. So it's very important to become still,
Yeah,
give yourself some time to become still in some way or the other.
true,
Yeah.
true. So I have not realized it before, but off late somehow it just feels like my body needs it. It's almost as if
Yeah.
it's something is saying that I need to do it too. just calm down, because my dreams in the night go on. They're so you know, engrossed. I'm so engrossed in my dream, like I feel like I'm living in a different world. And for me to, I have to pull myself out of sleep, because I'm so actively participating in those dreams that I feel like if I leave
Yeah.
that dream, then I will not know what happens next. You
Right.
know, so
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe because of that, I've literally come to a point where I feel, okay, I need to stabilize. And maybe that is another way of anxiety showing up, no?
Of course, different people have different ways of it. There's a nervous, so your nervous system is all, adrenaline is moving through your body. That's why you constantly feel the need to dissipate energy and constantly move. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think we all need to reset that because, all of this will have a physiological effect on us, a stressful environment. There's adrenaline moving through our veins. That's what happens when you keep watching the news, keep talking about the
True.
pandemic, keep watching the news. And I think news is something, I was talking to someone the other day and I said, I don't watch the news. We don't have the news for many years now in our home. We just watch Netflix or Prime Video. That's the entertainment we do. We don't watch news because I am a believer that whatever has to come to me, whatever is relevant will find its way. And one way or the other, news always finds you. You open YouTube and there will be something,
Yeah.
so which is sensational, which is uh, all
Which
of the
needs
news
your attention.
at getting you a reaction in your body. So all of this creates a reaction in our body. It creates stress, and we're in that loop, And so I think we need to break away from that. We have to
We,
stop even
we
talking
disconnect
about.
cable, you know. We've removed cable TV completely from our house. We have absolutely no cable TV, because every channel that you surf on television, it shows you what it wants. But when you have like the power to choose what you want to watch, is when I think you
Yeah.
can minimize this activity. Otherwise, media will just keep throwing things at you.
Yeah, yeah. And and what we ingest through our eyes, through our ears, is very important. It affects the quality of consciousness. It affects our mind. It affects our emotional bodies, and it affects our physical bodies. So what we take in through the indriyas is very important, and we, as it is, have very little control over that because everything is disturbing around us. So
True.
wherever we have some degree of, where we can make sure that we don't partake in something, we can exercise some degree of control, we should.
True. You know,
That's
in
what I.
fact, very recently I had a conversation with someone I know in my family, and she always happens to only talk about what's going wrong. So I kind of
Yeah.
snapped back at her. And there are, some people I think enjoy talking about it. It almost feels like, are you finding a
Yeah.
pleasure in this conversation somehow? So I happen, and when she's
Well,
talking, she's also smiling. And I can hear the smile or the laugh in her voice. And did you hear? Aisa hua. I like black fungus ke bare mein she was talking, and it almost felt like, I want to break the world this news that black fungus is happening. So how do you keep your distance? How do you keep your distance from people like these?
one is
How
to
do you tell them
understand
to
that.
shut up?
So one of the things is that you understand that there is a great pleasure in suffering for most of us, for a lot of us. I remember sharing this with a friend of mine a few years ago, and she says, "Why would people have pleasure?" And so she, I think, realizes that we all have a love affair with suffering for some reason. There is that side of our mind, the darker side, which likes it. The other thing is gaslighting. A lot of people like to give inflict fear and sensation. And you notice when they talk, they don't feel it to the depth. Even if she's talking about the black fungus, she's not really feeling the fear. But what she's doing is she's becoming a perpetrator of the fear,
Correct.
Uh, I think in our culture, we don't know how to set boundaries. I've always felt that way. And I think it's very important to set boundaries. You need to tell people. I mean, I have told people that I do not want to talk about it, right? Because if I am already going to, and if I understand that I get affected by it at some level, then it's an act of self-preservation.
Yeah.
It's an intelligent thing to do that you would tell other people that, you know what, I do not want to speak about it. The day it becomes relevant to me, I will handle it. But if it's not relevant to me, I do not want to speak about it.
So you won't believe it. When we were talking yesterday, and she's a family member, and she's supposed to come over for a few days to stay. And we were telling her that it's the right time right now to come because the cases are low and it's holiday time for us. Once work picks up again, we'll all get busy. So she's like, no, I
Hmm.
can't come right now because right now beds are not available in the ICU. And I'm like, I
Hmm.
asked you to come to stay in my house, not in the ICU. So how did this relevance occur to you? And she's saying, no, no,
Yeah.
I will come only when beds are available in the ICU. Kuch ho gaya to kuch milega. And I'm like, from where to where?
Yeah.
And it just
I know.
surprises me on how people think of the worst and how does one
Yeah.
stop that from happening. And I'm sure there are more like that. And it may be a surprise to me or a shock to me. But if in case there are viewers here who are watching and who happen to think of the worst, what is one way they can stop it from happening?
Well, the mind always does think of the worst case scenario because it is a survival mechanism in place. It'll give you the worst case scenario so that you do not make, it perpetrates fear in a way, or there is a certain mechanism in place. You have to treat that part of your mind like a child. Okay. So sometimes you have to talk to that part of the mind. Sometimes you have to give it information and data. I mean, she needs information and data that right now probably there is a chance that ICU beds are available, right? So statistically. So I think we all have this at different levels. But when you're telling me and talking to me about her, I don't think she feels the fear to that extent. We have to understand that a lot of people, we indulge, and I don't mean this about her personally, but I mean is that we tend to indulge in a little bit of theatrics and drama. And we can do that. We allow ourselves to do that, and we allow ourselves, and then we gently pull ourselves out of it. Enough. Let's pull ourselves out of it, right? So I have a lot of leeway. I don't have much leeway with people, but I'm giving a lot of people a lot of leeway because we all are dealing with these things so differently. And I think it's important to tell your mind, okay, stop, snap out of it. If you can't tell your mind stop and snap out of it, you need someone to tell you stop, snap out of it. So it's good to have those kind of people around you if you are unable to do it to yourself.
Yeah. The good part is that I am that person in most people's life, and I will say like, stop, stop,
Great.
don't go there. So I'm quite the friendly villain
Yeah.
around for people because it's not something they're looking to hear. In fact, pain looks for more pain for company. It's like indulge
Right.
me, you know. And when
Right.
there is somebody telling you, listen, hey, stop, this is not working out for you or for me. I don't see the discussion going anywhere. They don't really appreciate it as much. But I think more and more people who can say stop are required. So thank you, Radhika, for sharing so much of valuable.
Said that, Having said that, I just want to say that, it's also a time that calls for a lot of compassion for people because I believe that each one of us is very psychologically of a different makeup. And so you're dealing with different psychological states going, event. They're all interpreting it in their own way. So everybody is like making a story around it. So I think there is time for a bit of understanding, like when I go a little cuckoo about certain things, I have a friend here and I call her up and she makes me laugh and we talk about it and we laugh it off. And it's in 5 minutes we've gone through it, right? So that whole anxiety dissipates with laughter, right? So there is no right formula, I think, in this time, and there is no one shoe that fits all. I think it's a combination of some hard love and saying, okay, stop. There is also need for compassion. There is a need for just being silent, holding someone's hand through the process, because sometimes certain things have touched people even more closely than they would have touched us. So
Correct,
those
correct.
things can make it
Of
difficult
course.
for
So
some
that,
people.
that I completely understand and agree that there is a very thin line in this entire crossing the line between compassion to, literally subjugating the person to listening to you. So I hear that line has to be very carefully treaded at the moment. And I think we are all
Correct.
doing our best in whatever way we can. So thank you so much, Radhika, for
Absolutely.
coming in and sharing so much valuable information and different information. Something that we do not have access to as individuals, as laymen, and then as an expert, those perspectives really help. So before we end today's show, And thank you so much, like I've said, for
So
coming
much
in.
for
What is your
having me here.
prediction for Coffee in Chaos? Should I continue more or should I stop?
No, so no, you should not stop because I think it's great. There is, you bring on people who, not everybody connects to somebody different every time. And I think people have great takeaways from it, different perspectives. Each person and every guest of yours has the different way of how they've dealt with things, their philosophy of life they've shared. Some people will say, you need your friends, you need to connect with people. I basically am an introvert and I feel that isolation is not necessary. Loneliness, it's an opportunity. In isolation, you can either become very creative or very depressed. The choice is yours. So it's an opportunity for you to become more creative. So I think it's wonderful what you're doing because people get something out of it. People look forward to different perspectives. It's a great way of interacting. So I feel like I've sat across you and had a nice chat, and that's wonderful.
Yes. So I was thinking that around end of June, July is when we will see that the chaos or the nature of the chaos is likely to change. And it may not be the similar
Mm-hmm.
chaos. Chaos also has its own faces and masks that it keeps coming up with. So I was wondering around the end
Correct.
of June is when I would probably bring an end to the show and maybe come up with something different or a different concept. But yes, the chaos is
Of
likely to
course.
change.
Yes, of course. Life is always changing. But
Yes.
in the Bhagavad Gita it says, "Parivartan hi sansar ka niyam hai." So everything is constantly changing. Yeah.
Yes, so I'm probably going to change Coffee and Chaos to something else after June. But yes, so far I've been extremely lucky and happy to have guests like you who've come in and shared so much of valuable information. And whoever is listening, wherever they are, I'm sure it will help them in some form or the other. It'll either enlighten
Hmm.
them or awaken them or give them a lift,
Yeah.
whatever is required. But yes, it will help in some way or
Correct.
the other. So thank you, Radhika, so much for coming in. It was an
Thank you so
absolute
much.
pleasure to
Thank
have
you,
you.
Karishma.
And I have totally enjoyed chatting with you. I am extremely inquisitive, curious. Like, I want to know everything there is to know. So I might nudge a little bit more on personal chat and ask you a little bit
Absolutely.
more of the
Very
questions that I
happy to
have
share.
around it.
Yes.
So thank you so much. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Deepak, Arpu, for Arpana for joining in, Manju, Pallavi, Anaita, and a lot of names that had somehow disappeared. I don't know. I wanted to thank all of them, but I can't
So
read.
much for joining.
Asmita, Krina, everybody who joined, thank you so much for joining in. And as always, it was lovely to have you, Radhika, and I will see you around soon. I need one of those donuts that you made today, by the way.
Yeah, sure. I'll make them again.
You have to
Yeah.
tag me for Coffee and Chaos. Keep me going.
Yeah.
So Deepak is saying, go Carrie, go. I said today Carrie needs one donut coming from Radhika Chopra's house. So that should be good.
Soon.
Thank you, Radhika. Take care. Bye-bye. So that was Radhika Chopra. It's been an absolute pleasure to have her. I have got to know of a lot of things that I don't know. Like she said, the universe is so much vast than what we already know. So it is a complete good experience and a different experience for me. I hope it was for you too. For any more information that you need on blueprint numerology or person reading, please get in touch with Radhika directly. She's available on Instagram and she's fantastic. I mean, I'm speaking purely out of my personal experience. Absolutely fantastic. Deepak, I'm me not buying anything. All of you are sending me complimentary donuts. Apo as well. All the door to door and the large chocolatiers and all the lovely, fantastic cooks of the world. Please send it to me. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining in with the sweetness that you guys bring in on the show. Have a good evening. Bye bye. God bless. And oh, yes, I'm going to see you all on Saturday with a very special guest again. And the special guest I will let you know about tomorrow because she is an animal communicator. So, everybody who's a pet mom, pet parent, you must come in on the show. So, take care, guys. See you on Saturday. Bye bye.